What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Road Dad Podcast. I'm your host, George, and today we are going to talk about validating your kids' feelings. And the reason why I'm doing this topic is because whenever I talk to Rogue about schoolwork or watching TV, she always gets really emotional. She starts to cry. Um, and I recently had an experience with her where I was talking to her, and the second I said schoolwork, she starts trying to hold back tears. And the thing is, and what I told her in the moment is, we weren't yelling. She wasn't in trouble. I wasn't mad. Like there wasn't anything like that going on for, in my mind, for her to warrant tears or trying to hold back tears. And I know that I'm trying to break the cycle of my parents. And I know that's just not the physical abuse, because the reason why my mind can't comprehend her reaction to just talking is because I literally remember being told, I barely touched you. Why are you crying? As if there's some metric of measurement of I can hit you this much without you crying. But if I hit you this hard, then it warrants tears, which is absolutely fucking mental and fucked up. But that was a huge part of my childhood, is just getting smacked a little. And if you cried, you were told, why are you crying? I barely hit you. And so because that's my bar, it's very hard for me to understand her crying just with me talking to her. But if I'm trying to break the cycles of abuse and bad parenting that I had, then I can't hold her to that standard. And it was actually Teresa that said, "Hey, don't do that. Don't tell her not to cry." Because once I saw her getting ready to start crying, I was like, "Come, bro, seriously, you're gonna start crying? All we're doing is talking. You're not in trouble. I'm not mad. We're just talking about it." So it was really hard for me not to say something about her crying when she's sitting right in front of me, trying not to cry. After Teresa said that, I started thinking about it, because she's usually pretty spot on about shit when it comes to the whys and the how comes of parenting. Why kids do this, or why parents do this, or why she's she's pretty spot on about that shit. I'll give her that. And so I always try to take what she tells me and run it through my fucking processing, you know. And I started going down a little rabbit hole. I asked her if she had anything she wanted me to read on it or listen to. So I started Googling it. She sent me an article that I read. I started chat GPT in it and all that stuff. And one of the through lines that I found through all the studies and all the articles and, stuff like that, said that validating your kids' feelings makes them trust their gut more. So instead of telling them, don't cry, don't be sad, just ask them, like, hey, I see you're crying. What's going on? Or hey, I see you're bummed out. Why are you bummed out? What's going on here? That makes them trust their gut more. And also, I read another through line was that if you validate their feelings instead of correcting them, then they'll come to you for help more. They'll come to you for advice more because they feel you understand what they're going through. And as a parent, and I'll just say a girl dad, I want her to be able to depend on me for help. And I know after researching this and going down these weird rabbit holes I do before I do a podcast, I know that if I'm constantly telling her her feelings are wrong, she's not going to feel comfortable enough to come up to me when she's questioning things. When she doesn't know what's going on, she's not going to come to me if every time she has an emotion, I tell her, hey, don't fucking cry. Don't fucking be sad. Don't do this, dude. Don't do that. I wouldn't go to somebody like that. I wouldn't go to somebody who's always telling me what I'm feeling is wrong. So I'm glad that Teresa said that, because, and I don't do that all the time. But like I said, all we were doing was talking about something. I just brought up the subject, and I could see her like welling up and trying not to cry. And I just was like, dude, I just started talking about it. Come on, bro. What are you doing? Like, come on. And I know it's actually gotten better because she would just start crying instantly. And I'm sure it's because of my reaction to her doing that, that it went from instant tears to trying to hold back tears now. And I'm big on free speech. I'm big on just freedoms. I don't like people telling me what I can think, what I think is funny. I don't like people telling me what I should be allowed to do if I'm not hurting somebody. I'm very big on people's rights. And I'm sure it's because I was in prison, and I'm sure it's because I grew up in the system. You know, I've seen people's rights be taken, my own rights as well. And I'm very big on that. So the thought of me imposing that type of authority over my kid, it bothered me. And I didn't really look at it that way until Teresa said that. And her saying that forcing me to go down this rabbit hole, validating your kid's feelings. So it was an interesting thing of me being so bent on freedoms that I wasn't even doing that to my own kid. I hope it's not too much dark in here. I had to shut the door. I don't want chickens coming in here. Oh, by the way, out in the studio, man, I try to put something, I got Bruce, I got Body Buds, I got my brother's painting, I got Teresa's belly cast when Rogue was in there. I got my grandpa's blanket around here somewhere too. But so after going down that rabbit hole of validating your kid's feelings, I was thinking because I go on these drives. I go on these long drives for work. 3 hours is about the longest one. And I happen to be going pretty far the day I was thinking about this episode and, what I would be talking about. And sometimes I listen to podcasts, sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I don't listen to shit. And this happened to be one of those times. And I was thinking, like, I'm trying to break the cycle. I'm trying to do it different than my parents did it. If I'm trying to break the cycle for all of the negative things, then, and I'm doing that, then I can't hold Rogue to my reactions as a kid. I can't say, hey, I'm going to try to do all these other things, but not do this, because her experience isn't my experience. She doesn't know what it's like to be spanked. She doesn't know what it's like to be hit. She doesn't know what it's like to be pushed. She doesn't know what it's like to be in your room all day, literally being fed in there, only coming out for the bathroom. She doesn't know what it's like to, have to do yard work all day. She doesn't know any of these things that made me the person I am. So why am I holding her reactions to what I did as a kid? I was dealing with completely different circumstances. She doesn't know any of the violence and abuse that I knew as a kid. So the fact that I'm upset with her for reacting a certain way is so unfair because I'm I, I'm not her. Right now in her life, the TV and school is the worst thing. That's what it comes down to. Her losing her TV is the worst thing that could happen to her in her life. So if I'm breaking these cycles, I can't just say, hey, I'm going to try to do different, but you have to react the same I did in a different circumstance. I can't hold her to that. So that's kind of what made me want to do this, because I am so big on rights and not people not infringing their beliefs and rights on me. And here I am pushing my experience and my reaction in my life onto my kid, the most important person in my life. I just knew I had to talk about this because I want her to know when she listens to this podcast in fucking 5, 10 years or whatever the fuck, that I'm trying to adjust that I recognize it and I'm trying to adjust it. So what is validating your kids' feelings even look like? So all it means is that you're acknowledging their feelings without judging. Who am I to say that my daughter can't feel that strongly about her TV or about doing schoolwork? I'm not going to judge her on that. And it might take a little bit. It might take me doing a podcast or my wife saying something uh, to kickstart that train of thought, I guess. But it's just if a kid feels like I hate to say it, but if a kid feels seen or heard or understood, then it's going to build trust between you and your kid. Like I said, I want Rogue to come to me for problems. I want her to know that she can depend on me to help her and to be there for her. I want her to come to me. And if I'm constantly telling her her feelings aren't what she should be feeling, she's not going to want to come to me. She's just not. And I want her to have the emotional intelligence that is needed to go through the world. And me constantly telling her she's wrong, I think is gonna. So, another thing that I read about during my little research of this is that this helps them with their validating their feelings, helps them with their emotional intelligence. It helps them figure things out. And it helps with outbursts, tantrums, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how it's doing that, but in the stuff that I read, that it did say that quite a few times, that it helped them with being mad and throwing tantrums and stuff like that when they were feeling things and they weren't told they were wrong. Because if you ignore your kids' feelings, they're going to have poor coping skills. They're not going to trust their gut. They're not going to trust their instincts or their own feelings. They're going to have to rely on other people. They're going to become followers, and they're going to rely on other people to kind of guide them. And that gives a kid horrible coping skills. And it was also talking about how there's a risk of anxiety and depression. I can totally see how ignoring your kid is going to give them anxiety. I can totally see how it would lead to depression. If their own parents are constantly telling them, hey, what you're feeling is wrong, I would be fucking depressed, dude. Of course. 1 + 1 = fucking 2, man. So I was also looking up how to validate your kids' feelings, like ways to validate your kids' feelings, because I don't want to validate every feeling though. I feel like a lot of the things that are going on right now is because parents are validating every little fucking thing. Oh, you feel like a fucking boy? Okay, well, I'm going to validate that. Oh, you feel like a fucking girl, but you're a dude? Oh, I'm going to validate that. I think there's a difference between, hey, you feel sad right now. Let's talk about it. And hey, I feel like a dude right now. And then, yeah, let's go get fucking hormone blockers. Let's go fucking start buying you boy shirts and all this. I mean, it's a drastic drop off of just blindly letting your kid lead the dance. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that at all. I am suggesting that you hear your kid out. Like, instead of me telling Rogue, don't cry, letting her have her little moment and then talking about it. Not instantly. I mean, she didn't even get a tear out before I was like, hey, man, seriously, this again? Like, and I think that building trust with them will help them come to you more. It lets them know you're open minded to what they're going through. You're there for them, man. That's that's what it's all about. Your kids knowing that you are there for them. If I knew I could go to my mom about anything, fuck, dude, do you know what that would have done to me as a child, knowing that, hey, I just broke this thing. Can I, and I want to come tell you, fucking fell over, I fell and this thing broke with me. I feel strong enough to where I can come talk to you about it. Or, hey, I got in a fight at school and I don't feel good about it and I want to talk to you about it. I never got any of that. I never got any of that. I was always sent somewhere else for someone else to try to figure me out. My mom never tried to figure me out. It was always go talk to this person and then we'll figure it out. It was never her coming to talk to me about it. It was never her just popping her head in my room and talking to me about it. It was always go talk to this counselor, this psychologist, or whatever. They'll figure it out. I never felt like I could go talk to my mom about anything. My dad wasn't in the picture for the brief window that he was. I definitely wasn't going to talk to him about fucking anything. So I can completely understand how if I was able to express myself in front of my parents and think that I was going to be understood or at least heard out, at least heard, that would have helped me. That I'm sure I was depressed as a kid. I'm sure that, being in the system and, getting passed off from family member to family member. My grandfather was like the first person to, I guess, reach me mentally and emotionally. He was the first person to like treat me like a fucking person, man. Like he would take me places and show me how to do things and then let me do them and then walk away. He trusted me. He showed me that he trusted me. Uh Man, that fucking hit me. I guess shit, man. I guess having my grandfather do that to me, it still affects me. So I can imagine what that would have been like if my own mom would have done that. So if I'm trying to break fuck, those cycles, uh, I have to be able to not hold my daughter to the same reactions or responses that I had. It's not fair to her. My daughter's lucky enough to have her mom and dad both there. She's lucky enough to have a dad that knows the way he was raised wasn't healthy and is making the effort to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that's another thing that I started thinking about when I was researching this and going down these weird rabbit holes on validating your kids' feelings. And I was thinking about like breaking the cycles and doing things different. And at what point, like, do the cycles become good? I get parents that grew up in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I get them needing to break cycles in the way they were raised. It was completely different. But with the internet, if you're a parent and you grew up with the internet, there's really there shouldn't be more cycles to break. I think it's because of the internet that people have become more self aware. In the 80s, to learn anything about child psychology, you had to read a book, you had to go to school, or you had to talk to a psychologist. Now I can literally learn about psychology on my phone, which I did for this. I Googled things, I chat GPT'd it, I totally had it read things to me while I was driving and parenting podcasts. The amount of information that is available to you now for parenting is infinite. It's out there for everything. And it just, I don't think you can keep being a bad parent. There should be no bad parents now. And I do think there's more better parents now than everything. Like I said, the internet and everything has made it very accessible to learn how to be a good person. So I was just wondering, like, is Rogue going to have a cycle that she needs to break when she has a kid? Even though I'm doing my absolute best and trying to be a good dad and trying to teach her certain things and not react mad all the time and not, it's funny. People always, man, I love Rogue. She's such a good person. You guys are doing such a good job with her. You're such a good dad. I hear that all the time. And I'm not trying to brag about it. I'm not trying to say, pat myself on the back. But with all of that happening and her even seeing it, is there going to be something that she's not going to want to do with her kid? Is there going to be something that she's going to say, I'm never going to fucking do that when I have a kid, because it's possible. Maybe she'll say, I'm never going to make my kid fucking do MMA. I'm never going to make my kid sit at the piano. I'm never going to, like that's her plight now. You know what I mean? Like mine was abuse and neglect and physical harm and, you know, being isolated, being sent to my room and being sent away. Hers is no TV and, schoolwork. So I was just wondering about cycles and how I don't think new parents have the right to be bad parents. There's no excuse now. We always say people did the best they could with what they had. Well, now you have infinite information about how to raise your kid and what they're thinking. You have absolutely no reason. My wife tells me, hey, don't do that. I go and research it and I'm going to fucking find out about it. And I'm going to find out if what she's telling me is right or what she's telling me is wrong. I happen to be right. 99% of the time when it comes to parenting, man, she's pretty fucking spot on. She knows her shit. She's really good at the psychological aspect of the psychiatry or whatever it is. of parenting and what kids are going through. And it's helped me be a better parent. So if there's bad parents out there, you have to make the effort to learn about what your kid is thinking. Literally, you could just Google things that they say. I hate this. Why is my kid saying I hate this? And it'll probably have some article or something to help you. So, like I did, I asked ChatGPT, how do I validate my kid's feelings? And a few of the things it said to say was, I hear you. Just saying, I hear you was like the number one thing. Another one that was up there was, it's okay to feel this. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. And that was one that I really took to heart because I was telling Rogue not to feel something. I was telling her not to feel enough emotion to where she's crying. So that one kind of hit close to home. So I'm going to definitely try to say stuff like that more, or say that exact sentence actually, the next time a situation like this comes up. Just let her know, hey, it's okay to feel this, man. I think another one that I remember was, I'm here for you. Just letting your kids know that. So I'm here, or okay, so it's, I hear you. It's okay to feel this way, and I'm here for you. So those were the three things that I read, the three things I picked up from my little research. So pretty much in a nutshell, it's pause, take a breath, name the emotion that they're going through that you don't agree with, if you think it's crazy or whatever it is. Um, and try to accept it without fixing it. So you're just acknowledging the feeling without judging it. You don't have to fix it. It bothers me to see her cry, and I'm constantly trying, how can I fix this? Teresa will tell me something that happened, and my brain instantly goes to, how can I fix this? Rogue does something, I'm instantly thinking, how can I make my daughter not cry anymore? This is one of the biggest hurdles I've ever had in my marriage or being a parent. And it's acknowledging something without having to fix it. I don't need to be the fixer. And just acknowledging your kids' feelings without judging them is validating them. It's validating their feelings. It's letting them know they're not crazy, that it's okay to feel certain things. It's okay to get emotional. Now, I say these words and I can't help but think of all this transgender stuff going on. And I don't want people to think, not that anybody who knows me would, because I think that is a fucking crazy shit show of a movement. I think it's absolutely damaging to kids, and they're putting kind of politics and rights before kids, which to me is so sad. I think that that's validating feelings in a negative way, but in the moment, letting them know you hear them, letting them know it's okay to feel certain things, and letting them know that you're here for them, I think is the main takeaway. I think no matter what, even if your kid is telling you they feel like a boy or they feel like a girl and they feel like a fucking dog, I think taking that pause and that breath and doing those steps, I think is the right thing to do. Because if you fucking instantly, you ain't a fucking dog, get the fuck in your room, or you ain't a fucking girl, don't talk like that, stop fucking dressing like that, that's just gonna make them go further that way, man. Anytime I would do something and my mom would spank me, it would just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it more and I'm not gonna get caught next time. Or, if I lied, but I know that if I would have done something and she would have tried to say, hey, what's going on? Instead of just instant punishment, instead of just instantly telling me, hey, you're wrong. I know that would have made a difference, man. I know it would have. And I think that if you can do that with your kid, if you can make that difference, I think that's good parenting. I think that not having to always be Superman is it's okay. You don't always have to fix it. And the crying thing, I always feel bad because then I alter the way I approach it, because now she's crying and I have to skirt that. instead of just pausing, taking a beat, figuring it out. And now I know how I can do that. Now that's my next step to doing that in the future. So I hear you. It's okay to feel this way, and I'm here for you. So thanks for listening, everybody. I hope the studio is not too distracting to look at. And I appreciate you guys all listening. Thank you. Subscribe, like, do all that shit I hear on all the other podcasts. So love you guys. Don't be afraid to go rogue with your parenting. See you next time.